Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Members Only Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, if you are watching this live, you are a member, so you don't need to subscribe or become a member, but if you're watching this after the fact, be sure to smash the like button, share, subscribe, comment and all that good stuff. With that, I'm going to hand over to G+, who are all in abundance, arguing away about various different bits and bobs, and we've also got a few people in the Gilded server as well, so I'll hand over to them while I test a few things on my live stream with my new computer.
That's not the argument that came out the gate. Guns a-blazing.
I know,
So
I
the argument
know.
right.
I know.
That's a
what
repositioning
I'm
of
doing.
the argument. That's just a repositioning of the
all right.
argument. And there'll be a new one next week.
Huey's a little triggered. I'll let y'all know.
Oh, I'm triggered. What you're gonna divine my other what does that mean? What does triggered mean?
Well, I'm trying to explain the conversation that's happening on the streets.
Triggered mean?
Triggered means when you hear a certain line of reasoning or bad reasoning, you immediately attack it. You're triggered.
Yeah.
You do that all the time.
Yeah, I do. I attack it. Yes.
And that's fine. And that's fine. But I'm trying to do something, fam. Like, I'm not subscribing to any of this. Like, I'm just trying to let you know.
You're not getting their argument right. The main, I posted it. I just posted it a number of times in the war room, masturbators. That's the main argument. So I'm not concerned with the evolution of their fucking nonsense. I want the main argument, the one that they came out guns a-blazing. Right? And it has something to do with what you just said. So what is that? Let me go back to Skype. Right? We'll go to the war room and let's see what that argument is. How about that? Is that good?
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I will concede that what I was trying to tell you is that conversation doesn't exist today. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Yes,
no,
it does.
Oh, yes, it does.
It does.
Oh, yes, it does.
You know what I'm saying? You know how somebody...
You know how somebody...
I don't...
No,
here's
Here's the argument. You ready? This was the initial argument. Shit's at 60. We have electromagnetic waves, that's light in a vacuum. We can show, and it either has a medium, that's ether, that it's waving through, or it's waving through nothing, which is an asinine claim. He examples it by saying, I can shoot a laser through a vacuum and it gets to the other side. So those dovetail together. 10 days later, he says, light is not a particle or a wave, and then says it's already there, the ether. It doesn't need a wave to move through it. There you go.
Right. You guys then, after you kind of summarized that before, then you guys said they keep changing the argument. And I attempted to say, here's how. And he said, no, that's not the argument. So it's like, okay, forget it then.
Who cares? If they change their argument, they're dead.
I think the problem is there's multiple arguments for the same thing. Again, we were once told it was a dense medium, and now we're told it's a non-manifested medium.
Oh, you can't move away from the framework argument. No. What I just said is the argument. You can't change up. You can't change the argument.
Are you saying that non-manifested things can be also manifested at the same time?
Now, I'm not saying that. I just said the argument. I posted it everywhere. That's the argument.
See, the problem with the argument, is that it has an origin point, and that's the argument. But they continually change it from week to week. It's changing from week to week to week. But that's the problem. We have the original argument. Right. I know, but
why you
obviously we can do it, but it's not productive.
No. Interrupt the hell out of Brian. Interrupt the hell out of Brian. He's saying the same thing I said. Interrupt him.
You don't change arguments. Yeah, I am interrupting the fuck out of Brian. you can't change the foundation of your argument. You can't then. This wasn't changed. This was directly contradicted by that idiot. You then can't change your argument to something else. That makes no. It's non-sequitur.
I totally
Listen,
agree. It's
Right.
a completely it's a ridiculous position to hold, to try and change your argument
I
because
don't
the
know about
original
you
argument
guys,
failed.
but I can change my pants without leaving the pants that I'm in. So I don't know
Yeah,
what you're
I know
talking
you
about.
can. I know.
Nice.
What I'm saying is
So-
you can't do that. You're getting Jedi mind tricked, right? And then you're following their red herring fallacies that they dreamed up and then trying to defeat that argument. No, you go back to the original claim, the original argument. He spent almost 3 fucking hours on it. Got it?
Yeah, 100%.
Well-
You can't.
Well,
an
John, the
argument is an
problem
argument.
is, yeah, the problem is though, John, is his initial argument was defeated so easily and so quickly. Well, what's he supposed to do then? Just accept that he's wrong, or his argument's void? You can't do that.
Well,
You do is you, after that's been established, you go back to evaluating NASA photos. You stay in your fucking lane and you pick up cans alongside of the road, and we'll take care of everything else. That's what happens, John.
Supervised or
Um,
not supervised?
I'm glad you picked up on my sarcasm. I felt like it was going without.
Sorry, my mic was on mute.
I don't. Predators don't need supervision. I would hope they can. What's that?
I said Wixit is a repositioner. He repositions everything. When he loses, changes it around.
Yeah,
You see-
that's why I'm sticking to. I don't have any beef with him because so long as we talk and everything that we've talked about stays consistent in that vacuum, I really you can do videos on things and you go ahead and do you. But what I know is that when I asked him, all he said was nothing can exist and that we're not trying to use science to prove the ether. All right, then we have nothing to talk about. All these experiments that you're doing on things that we already know exist, like electricity and magnet. Okay, that's cool. Do stuff. Build stuff. Do what it is that's gonna make this conversation better. But since you're not talking about scientific method, please stop talking about it.
It's not science.
Yeah, but
It's
the
not science to begin with.
That's why I'm
times I
saying
gotta say-
please stop talking about it.
How many times I got to say this? This is not science to begin with. Now, maybe at a later step, after you establish the existence of something, and if that existence of that something causes something in the natural world, then we can get to science. We're not anywhere fucking near it. What is ether?
Yeah.
A collection
exactly.
of effects
See,
that have been figured out in man-made devices mostly, and just like it's a collection of understanding that have been pumped
No,
into by
that's
several
new.
different
Yeah,
people. And hold on, but that's what it is.
No, we're not
It's a
holding on. That's
collection that's being
It's not a collection.
reified into an actual thing, even though it's not manifested, right? But it is basically that collection of knowledge that
No,
that you
it's not.
keep getting
Ether is not
rouletted
a
through.
collection of knowledge. That's non sequitur.
No, but it
can,
is.
can I just
That's
No,
why
but it is.
they scattergun
That's not
you
secular.
with all the examples of what they
Not a
think
collection
ether
of
is.
knowledge. It's not that.
Yeah, but
What's
these are
ether?
all findings.
It's the exact opposite in a way. It's a dumping ground for all
Yes.
the lack of knowledge.
Exactly. Well, arguably,
Uh-oh.
yes. No, good point.
Adam,
I agree
This
on
is all
that.
shit.
I'm not trying to praise ether or what it is. It's an aberration, but what they do
Fuck
is
that aberration.
scattergun.
What's define aberration?
An aberration is like a natural information thing that you.
Like,
It's
No,
not
not like it.
scientific.
no.
It's not
Not like.
scientific.
Not like. I want to know what it is, not what it's like. What is aberration? You say
Well,
it's
you
not-
could Google the word, right? That
Well,
would
you
help.
Google it. You're the one that claiming it.
it's an artistic naming of the effect of something that just like, what is this? But it's a lot about it is psychological, right? This is
What?
just what happens when we dig into information and try to learn about things. People bump into these type of things and they get stuck up,
Define
like with
aberration.
gravity. Like gravity
Define
was
aberration, please,
oh
for the
my
third
God.
time.
I'm trying to.
You're not defining it.
A departure from normal.
Right.
Fair enough.
It's like a mind twist. You get caught up in it. It's like a trap, a spiritual trap, right? And that's I'm sorry. This is just
It's
that's
not a
what it
mind
is.
twist. I'm sorry. That's not what Adam said. Adam, read again.
A departure from what is normal, usual, or expected. Typically an unwelcome one.
Yes, I know. Look, this was an artistic choice.
You did?
To look. I tried to define it. Okay, this is not something that's a general understanding. Aberration. Okay, when you confronted me with the scientific method, and when I was still defending gravity, that's what I concluded. Like, this is something. This is a psychological thing, and
not
I
making
called
any-
it an
You're
aberration.
not making any connections. Stop with the verbal diarrhea and connect your thoughts.
Right.
Everything you said is non sequitur so far.
Owen, let me support you. So I'm going to make the statement again that I said. It's not a collection of knowledge. It's a place, dumping ground, where we put a lack of knowledge, and that in itself is an aberration, because it is a departure from all of the normal ways in which he applies stuff. So with regards to some of the behaviors of light, etc., we abandon our normal ways of dealing with stuff and say, I don't know. And we put it into a substance called ether to give it an explanation, whether that's part of the
Yes.
lazy behavior of light. So I would defend. I don't think you knew when you were using it, but I think you can find a way to use it.
That's what I tried to express. I was trying to look, the concept of aberration as I use it was like pretty new and heavy. Like, the thing about it is it's a psychological trap. So if you start to believe it and defend it, you will think in that way, and you will start to follow the patterns that are correlating with this specific aberration. With
That's a
gravity,
bunch of nonsense.
No.
Aberration is not a psychological trap.
You know, you've been using that word to describe gravity for a long time. And I think Adam basically just explained perfectly why you would use it to describe gravity or this ether shit.
Yeah, but
think
he's
that was
right.
great.
I'm totally in agreement with Adam. It is a dumping ground. That's effectively what people do with it.
That's
But it's
not the
it's
aberration.
something
The
with-
aberration is not the dumping ground.
No,
Uh,
the aberration.
Wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Right.
Oh my
Not
God.
you, Adam.
Owen, the aberration is that under normal circumstances, the way you resolve something, let's just keep it simple, is via the scientific method. And if you can't resolve it like that, it remains unknown. The aberration here is that the unknown is given an explanation within ether, in this case, or within gravity is another aberration. We invent a force to solve our problems. We don't go, I don't know, I've not solved that yet. That's the aberration. We abandon our normal practice of defining truth.
Right. That's what makes it the real aberration, and why it is an aberration. Why I make it like this is an aberration. Gravity is an aberration. Ether is an aberration.
Arwen,
Why?
say thank you to
Because
Adam.
everybody falls in the same pattern.
Aberration.
It's like something that happens within the exploration of information. You bump into this,
You
and there
keep
can be
defining
two
it again
results.
and
Either
again.
you succumb to the aberration and try to defend it, or you realize this is really a mind twist and
don't
you
think you
stay
get
away
it.
from it.
I don't think you're seeing it.
I'm sorry, this is not very
I,
scientific.
I think
It's not
think
supposed to be
he's-
scientific.
I think what he's saying is the mind twist is the unconventional thinking is the aberration. which is what y'all are saying. Like the way that you come to conclusions that are away from how we would how we would deal with them in reality, like dealing with the unknown by slapping a concept onto it, like slapping a concept together that would describe something again that is unknown. I
It's
think
the way you
Darwin is
come
saying-
to
fall in love
it's
with
the
it.
way you come to a conclusion, not the conclusion itself, folks.
It's also what happens to the people that are digging into it and why. They fall in love with it, right? It's like falling in love with a ghost. That's
and
the
this
aberration.
is why I said, they're not lying. Like let's not. I know,
What's
I know.
not
Yes,
buying what?
they are. Yes, they are. They're lying. All right, but I just think that they're
Who
in
are
love
they?
with an idea.
Who are they?
At least Bob. Okay, come on, throw me a bone.
Okay. I'm throwing you a bone.
Thank you. At least Bob is madly in love with this aberration, this way of thinking that's fallacious. And no matter what he does, his conclusions are always going to equal fallacious.
Yes.
And that's it.
It's not.
And
It's
I
not
don't
only
think
him.
that should contribute.
Perfect.
It's not only him. If you start out with a fallacy, then everything that follows that fallacy in rapid succession is heretofore fallacious also. So it's all void. So you can't start off with a fallacy as your main premise because everything else is horseshit.
That's right. That's it doesn't follow, and then
Right.
everything that follows something that doesn't follow as well.
Yes, correct. In other words,
That's
Can I
what
just make can I just,
AI coined the first cause fallacy.
what?
can I just state that the problem, right? The
Go ahead.
problem
Go ahead, Brian.
we've had. Thank you, QE. The problem we've had with Ether, right, and all these claims about it, is that we have gone down the rabbit hole, or they're attempting to bring us down the rabbit hole, just like with the globe. Like there were so many simplistic globe destruction proofs that were around in 2015, but people didn't realize their power. You know, things like, well, you can't have a vacuum without a container. You can't have gas pressure without a container. Things like that. You know, there was small little things like that that were so powerful back in 2015, but people didn't pay attention to them because they were talking about NASA and all this other rubbish. And bit by bit by bit, people got into refraction and this, that, and everything instead of sticking to the basics. There's a claim out there, right, that this thing exists. There's also a claim that they have measured it. And there's a claim it does this, that, and the other thing. Now, a measurement is a physical thing you'd have to do. So if the claim is that it's a spiritual belief or just an opinion, then how can you measure it? Can't be done. Let's stick to simple arguments concerning this, because otherwise we'll end up down a rabbit hole. Because that's what they're attempting to do with their changing their arguments. Week by week, the argument is changing. You know, QE just showed it a few minutes ago with the 10-day difference when the first time Witsit was on compared to the second time. He changed his position because his original position didn't fit what he needed it to fit. But that's not, you can't do that. There's a particular argument out there, and there's a particular claim of a measurement. And there's no point in Bob telling me that it's just his opinion, or Witsit telling me that it's just a spiritual belief, if they're also going to claim that the four-column pendulum and the ring laser gyro and all this is proof of it. If it's just an opinion or just a spiritual belief, then how are these things anything got to do with it? I can't measure a concept. I can't, like time. Time's a concept. That's what I couldn't think of earlier. Time. I can't, what's the difference between ether and time? What's time causing?
Not
I don't
just,
have an ether. I don't have an ether watch.
not just the
My favorite
spiritual
thing.
belief that's happening. Well, it is, but unfortunately, it's a spiritual belief that demands a rewriting of physics down, as the initial attacks say, to the construct of what we consider matter. And that's fundamental. What we consider matter, atoms, is fundamentally, from a spiritual point of view, different to them. And these are the points of contention that they think are the points of strength by attacking supposed weaknesses in atomistic theory. This supports their case, but this is unfortunately the weakness, because in professing this spiritual stuff, it does require a rewriting of physics, not just the atom, but the electron even. Yeah.
And the best way to prove that is to bring up a machine that is developed in atomistic theory, right?
With electrons. Yeah. But this is the point we're at. We're asking, and fundamentally, for them to be able to explain their position, they first have to describe their new physics, which involves ether and manifestation through dielectric potential or counter space, inertia, what all those things actually mean. Electrostatics, that's the big one for me, because it's a term from an atomistic theory that has real significance and meaning, that appears to be being used in a non-conventional way, a way that is yet to be defined. And that's my beef, really. Is that right? It is that forcing of a spiritual belief, because it is a way of viewing reality and physicality, how it's borne out and what it consists of, which appears to be what we've heard of. So that's the fundamental trouble for me, that they're not able to describe the opposition to what they have, to our method. They can't describe the opposite of what they're actually explaining, even down to, like, say, the fundamentals of what does electrostatics, everything's electrostatic in their world. Well, what does that mean? Because even to define that requires an electron and an atom.
Yeah, that's it. Like with my finite wisdom, that's exactly what I was alluding to, because I said, okay, like, do you have a problem with the scientific method as it's used correctly? No. Okay. So then what you're doing is something different. Just lay out your epistemology first, or your mental framework first, and then maybe I'll understand. Like that is yet to be.
Did you miss the part where
Like-
I said? Did you miss the part where
Yeah.
I said that this isn't scientific just yet? It
No,
can
why?
be. It can be once they fucking tell us what ether is. Now, once you establish what ether is, then you can go on to what ether causes naturally. Then science makes its entrance. Until you establish that something exists, you're not anywhere near the scientific method. Do I need to say that again?
Yes, you
They're
do.
working on it, QE. They're working on it.
Nope, I got
Right.
it.
You don't need to, but maybe you probably should. I don't know, because apparently this has been lost upon people. I don't know.
I've been asked. Hold on a sec. I've been asked like 100 times to give scientific proof for a thing, an atom, and I point out to them, Whitson in particular, that the existence of something is not the same as what something causes. So yeah, I think you may need to point that out.
We go with the atom, and because obviously what's thrown at us, have you ever seen an atom? And you have to concede there. So I've got no problem. I've got no problem with them presenting me with a similar convention. I'd be really happy with that, but we're not even close to that. Yeah, all we've got is statements of words that come from atomistic theories that are supposed to mean something in their viewpoint, that means something, but it's not tangible. It doesn't have a definition in of itself. It equates a little bit to atomistic theory, but that's the trouble for me. I'd be happy for them to present some form of convention
So when I say that, okay, I asked him because it's with this specifically. I asked him, "What's wrong with the scientific method?" Nothing.
Here we go
Okay.
again.
Okay. So that's why I say the same thing that Adam is saying. Well, then you must have a different epistemology. My problem, though, is that the moment that I ask what that is, it is a critique of how the scientific method can't prove all things. Like it's like,
Wow.
whoa, that's not giving me
That's a
what
quick
your
look over there.
epistemology is. Yeah.
If Adam says atomistic theory and convention one more time, I'm gonna take a contract out on his ass.
I'm going to keep using those words. I am an ambassador to the
Wait.
Ethereans. I have to speak in their local dialect.
Put him on the same list I am.
No, it's important because to use these are the words of attack. These are the allegation, insult. That's certainly how it was brought to the table. You're atomists, you know. These are the words that they're using. That's what has to be used because this is what we're dealing with. This is how they understand it. If they have to define us as atomists, I'm fine with that. If that's their understanding, I just really want them to just as succinctly define their position.
Maybe you should point out to them that the computer they're using to speak to you has a word called bit or byte attached to it, and see if they can understand that as a particle or not, or a discrete point.
We spend a lot of time with them, I say, attacking our points. We've spent a lot of time trying to get an explanation. And I think, if I'm being honest, I don't think they have one. I think, as Brian alludes to, they have a spiritual way of comprehending things. That's not that they can apply it in any way to reality. It just appears to be a religious belief. Because all of the explanation occurs in the unmanifest. All we have here is things we observe, but none of the explanation comes from the observation. All we have is every bit of explaining occurs in Narnia, put it simply. Yeah, it's all Narnian. Gas lights don't work by gas. You know, they're powered by Aslan's will. Or you see, all the explanation to anything occurs in a place that's non-validatable. Therefore, you can't question the explanation because the explanation can change.
Yeah, how is
Yeah,
a Van der Graaf generator working when it was developed as a subatomic particle accelerator? But
Because
you don't believe that it's actually doing that. So what is it doing?
because of electrostatics, when you put it in there, it reverses the polarity, and that's why it levitates. I mean, listen to the contradictions in that, but that is genuinely the best. Jaron quoted that as proof. Yeah, because it was the point he wanted to skip forward from. So I don't know how you argue because they don't appear to be consistent. Well, one thing is proof. Van der Graaf levitating a piece of paper is proof of electrostatics, which is undefined, and proof that you can shift the polarity of the electrostatics so that up becomes down, because that's what electrostatics does. Even though we don't know what it is, it defines up and down. It sets the vector. This is respectfully nonsensical, and it can only be described as religious doctrine.
Yeah, you have to beg the question that does a vector set in place originally.
Well, we discussed this. Look at that. Look at that thing levitating. This is one of the contradictions, even within the sentence of description of what we're seeing. It's levitating. Before we switched the device on, the ball was on the bottom base plate, wasn't it? When we switch the device on, if we're going to reverse the polarity, as in reassign the vector of down, then the only if that's what we've done, if that's the variable we've manipulated, that vector of down, yeah, by changing the electrostatics. Remember, this is all nonsensical description that appears in Narnia, but it's there. If that's what we've done, change the vector of down by altering the electrostatics, then that ball should go down in the new down, which is up in the picture to the top plate. Yeah. But it doesn't. It's levitating in the middle. So even the proof is contradictory to the explanation.
Yeah, and more than that, what they'll try and say as a rebuttal to that is that the reason it's not going up is because of it's because of density. They'll try and use density as an explanation as to why it's not going up. No, density determines, right, whether something will, the density of an object or substance, whatever, in accordance with the density of the medium it resides in, determines whether it goes up, down, or sits in the middle, right? So density can't be used as a kind of a band-aid here as to why that object is not going all the way up to touch the top of this apparatus. Because if density was going to stop it going all the way up, then density would have stopped it from rising in the first place. The point is that the thing has risen off of the base, right? Why is it risen off of the base? Because something is causing it, like some kind of charge is causing it, that's coming underneath in between the base and the object is pushing it up.
What a lovely day!